Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Just Sports with John, and welcome to your bonus video for March 18th, 2022. And talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened in NFL, some of the signings and whatnot, and talk about some of the major moves. So, going to start right off the bat with Aaron Rodgers. Big move there, guaranteed money of 150 million, roughly 3 years. So it doesn't appear by that metric that Rodgers would be leaving the Packers anytime soon. It seems like he'll be able to stick around there, and they're going to end up paying him a lot of money one way or another. Um, there's a couple articles out there about how that breaks down. If you want to do that, look at that. But Packers basically tied one way or another, paying Rodgers, and it's Rodgers kind of gets what he wants there. So hopefully all parties will be happy going forward. But one thing that might not make the Packers happy and or Rodgers happy is that they're going to be limited in what they can do in terms of picking up free agents now going forward, and they're not going to have Devontae Adams anymore. He basically asked the Packers to pay him big time, and apparently they were willing to get close to that or match that. Um, but he seemingly wanted to go to the Raiders, make sure he get the most for his money. Probably play in warmer weather too, is my guess. And Carr was his former college quarterback, so there's that as well too. Now going to Devontae Adams, so they traded Packers traded him to the Raiders, and basically what the Raiders got out of this is uh, first round pick for him, and I believe a second round pick for him as well. I'm sorry, what the Packers got out of that. And the contract, the Raiders giving him Adams a big contract. It's going to be 141.25 million. It's got 67.5 million guaranteed. Um, so Packers right now don't have a number one or number two receiver because Valdez Scantling, who is the number two receiver, is a free agent. Adams is gone, and then the Raiders get a true number one receiver finally for Derek Carr, which is amazing. And he's going to have Hunter Renfrow there and Darren Waller there, and that's probably really good because Darren Waller, moving up, I think age, no, he's over 30, might be like 32 now. So you figure Waller best years are going to start getting behind him, so it's good to have Adams take pressure off of that. So you got to like what the Raiders have done there. And then the next big quarterback was, Russell Wilson getting traded to the Broncos. And I'm not going to sit here and go through all the picks and things that the Broncos got, or I mean the Seahawks got. They basically got like I think it was 2 first rounders and like a second rounder, something like that. So a pretty decent haul actually for the Seahawks. But you do have to wonder, like, okay, what is the Seahawks plan here? Like, it doesn't seem like they're going to go out there and get any quarterback at this point. They're out of the Watson stuff. Trubisky's off the market. Rodgers off the market. Um, Cousins not going anywhere. It seems like. I think they have like the somewhere the sixth, maybe seventh pick. They're kind of up there in the draft. So you got to figure Seahawks are they have somewhere between the sixth and ninth pick. I forget, but they're going to be probably most likely drafting a quarterback. Whether or not that quarterback will start, we'll see. I'm sure they would end up picking up somebody in free agency as well too. Um, maybe like Winston or uh, somebody else. I know Bridgewater and Taylor off the market, so it's going to be interesting to see what Seahawks do other than drafting a quarterback. Um, they typically don't value the quarterback position too much other than their starter. So we'll see if they even have a good backup. Moving on here. So I don't. The thing about Russell Wilson to me is like why the Broncos? Because you're in a division with Mahomes, Derek Carr, and Justin Herbert, and all these teams. It's like an arms race over there. All these teams are going crazy making moves right now. And so, you've got the Chargers stacking up with Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, who they brought over. They brought in two defensive tackles, Austin Johnson and Joseph Day from the Rams. So, I mean, the one area that the Chargers were struggling in defense looks like they're getting better. Chiefs are retaining most of their people, if not adding more people. And then, of course, the Raiders, we saw what moves they've made offensively. I made a couple moves defensively, nothing that struck out me big time, but they did make some there as well too. And of course, they brought in Josh McDaniels, who probably is going to be a good coach or should be, but we'll see. Um, So, I'd like to hear from Russell, like exactly what's his thought process there. But, you know, it is what it is. He's definitely going to hard the division, that's for sure. Um, and then, speaking of like that division, the Chargers to me are just making fantastic moves. I mean, the whole thing of you getting out of the playoffs last year was your defense. You couldn't stop anybody. They had one of the worst defenses in points and yardage allowed in the league, and they're really taking a hold of that. And it's not always a guarantee that free agents will make your defense better, but considering they got a defensive coach as their head coach, and these guys they're getting are one was from the Rams, one was from the Bears, which, you know, may not be a playoff team, but definitely had a really good defense. That was probably the one thing they had that was going pretty well. So, and Khalil Mack's just everybody knows he's a great player. So they're getting better there. J.C. Jackson's a great player. So I think with all that, the Chargers are looking pretty good. And then uh, the Deshaun Watson stuff is getting interesting because now the Panthers moved out, and I actually kind of thought the Panthers would be one of the teams that would end up with him. So I'm kind of curious, and there again, they're one of the teams I think are up there, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth pick somewhere in there. But I'm just real surprised that the Panthers are out of it. I really thought that with Watson kind of being a legend around that area with college and all that, I kind of thought that was going to be a really interesting and good fit for the Panthers to do. But obviously, they're not in the running. So we're down to the Falcons and the Saints. The Bears or the Browns are no longer in the running too. At this point, I don't know how the Saints are going to pull it off with their cap issues. I know they've been working on it, but I'm kind of curious. Like, did they trade Taysom Hill? Like, did they re-sign Winston and trade him? I'm not sure what goes on there with that. As far as getting a quarterback back, and maybe the Texans don't care. They might look just trying to move it. Davis Mills, and they re-sign or they signed Kyle Allen. So maybe, you know, it's looking like the Texans are moving closer to dealing Watson to one of these two. Um, my guess would be you'd want to have trade with the Falcons. If anything, you get Matt Ryan in there. You might only have him for a couple of years. You could work on Davis Mills in the background. 3 or 4 years, you can decide to do whatever you want to do after that, or 2 years, maybe even draft a quarterback. Maybe 2023, you draft a quarterback if you're Texans. So I'm kind of curious that it's down to these last two teams. I would think, now, granted, Matt Ryan has a huge cap hit. It's like 30 something million, I believe. It was like 36 million. So somewhere between 30 and 36 million. So I don't know if the Texans necessarily want to take that on. That may be why they're still looking at the Saints. But we'll see. It's kind of interesting, and it may not even be any of those two teams. They may stick with Watson down the road again. It just seems like at this point you would definitely want to move on from him. So we'll see how all that goes, and what we do there. And then a couple other quick notes here. Sorry about this. I'm just going to check my notes real quick. So Trubisky to the Steelers was kind of interesting, I thought. Kind of a stopgap measure. Don't see him being necessarily the future, but there are a lot of good reasons why I can see that they went with him. He's cheap. He's got some mobility. He was on sucky teams, so Steelers have a really good team, a lot of good players. Najee Harris, good tight end, and Fairmouth, good receivers. So I mean, who knows? Maybe Trubisky just needs that. He's one of those quarterbacks that needs weapons. Um, Jags just throwing money around, same as Texans, and it's not going to matter. They both stink. Uh, and the AFC South, it's just weird to me. Like, Colts have gotten weaker, Jags just suck, Texans just suck, will probably get weaker, and yet Titans release Julio Jones, and it's like, okay, you're already going to probably win a division, but you're not doing anything to just put a super stamp on this. Now, granted, the Titans were like, I think 6 million over the cap at one point. So, but a lot of it has to do with Tannehill's contract too. So I don't know what we're doing future wise. Um, and then, I think it's interesting to see what other teams are going to make any moves. Some of them are staying out. Cardinals re-signed James Conner and stuff. So we'll see how things keep moving. Free agency, if there's any other impactful trades. I think for the most part, we're looking at the end of things in free agency, but that's pretty much it. You guys, thanks for the time on the video, and we'll talk to you later. Enjoy.